right, I've been looking forward to this show for a long time. This is Cape Ann Today Live coming at you from O'Malley Middle School at 32 Cherry Street in Gloucester. I'm your host, Kory Curcucu. Alongside me, as always, Heather Atwood. How are you, Heather?
I'm great, Kory. And you need to actually add that this is your alma mater.
It is.
Yeah.
1988.
Yeah.
This was my last year at O'Malley.
And you were a legend here.
We
At
all
least you
were
told
legends.
me you were.
I'm still a legend in my mind. But
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
so of all the schools that I went through in the Gloucester public school system, O'Malley was my favorite. But I also felt like the inmates were in the asylum. I mean, you know, it was the puberty years.
Right.
So,
Well,
but it was great. I loved it.
About that.
Well, what's great to see is all the changes that have happened here. Because I've visited the school a lot. Even
Over the years?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You just went back for old times?
No, well, I used to have a little after-school club here that we used to run, and where we had students create videos of the after-school programs. Then they would upload them to social media. This is 10 years ago. All within the hour, they edited, they did all that for us here. So we had a little bridge club.
You should do that again.
School. I would love to do something like that. It was really cool.
Yeah. So what has changed the most and the least when you come back to visit?
Well, I think we're lucky enough to be in the Science Center today, right? And you see the aquaponics lab, and it's just how, I guess, how innovative things have gotten here and how things have evolved. It's cool to see the same footprint for the most part. Like I knew how to get to my old homeroom and see my old locker and all that.
You found your old locker?
Oh yeah, yeah. I told you I loved it down here. Yeah.
That is so funny.
Yeah.
That's really cute. You are a graduate, a real true graduate of O'Malley Middle
Yes.
School. Yeah.
So we should say right off the bat, joining us as our first guest today is the principal of O'Malley School, Lynn Beatty. How are you, Lynn? Good morning.
Well, thanks for having me. It's nice to be here.
Yeah, thanks
It's
for
great to
joining
be
us.
here.
Yeah.
So, and off camera, I was asking Lynn if the school moniker was still Shamrocks, but it isn't anymore.
Well, in some places it's Shamrocks. The hockey team still wears Shamrocks uniforms. But we, at one point, became the Innovators, with the name of the school being Innovation School. And we're sort of in between at this point. There have been conversations about having a contest where the kids choose a new mascot. So we'll have to stay tuned for that. That might be coming up.
Yeah.
So I want to know right off the bat, what is wonderful about middle school kids?
Middle school kids, they're different not only every day, but every minute of every day. So my favorite part is seeing them come in as sixth graders and then exit as eighth graders, sometimes even physically unrecognizable from when they walked in the door. So there are all the physical changes, the emotional changes, the growth. They're in a bridge between being children and being young adults. So they're inquisitive, they're curious, still for the most part doing what they're supposed to, which is nice. But they're bursting with personality, and they're craving new things, new interests, new friends. So the best part of middle school is you get to try all different kinds of things. In our after-school programs, our in-school programs, there's a lot to offer where kids can get to know a different aspect of themselves as they grow.
How many students are attending?
We have 634 currently.
Wow.
Yeah.
So Lynn, off the top, the changes you've seen here during your tenure that's excited you the most?
Let's see, I would say probably has to be top of the list that we are now not in COVID, because that was the hugest change. That was a tough change. I think in general, if I put COVID aside and the difficulties around that, just the growth that we've made, where I feel like we're coming together, assimilating with a direction to take with our academics. Wonderful, wonderful support for the Science Center that we'll be talking to a lot of people about today. And the creativity that goes on in there, and the development of critical thinking for kids. There's a lot of focus on making sure that we help our kids really grow and change and experience and become the best they can be before they head off to wherever they're going for high school.
How did navigating through the pandemic reshape curriculum and education, and how students are learning?
It's a good question. I think for a lot of people, starting with staff, I think it helped them really increase their understanding and the capacity of technology. Some of that we've backed off of now, that we don't have to have remote resources and instruction available. But we're sort of forced pretty quickly to learn new tools and new practices that we didn't have in our pockets before. So that helped. I think we also, because of that, learned the true value of in-person person-to-person interaction. And that ability to work in a group and be close and touch things together, no one really thought about before we couldn't. And then all of a sudden you're in seats 6 feet apart with individual kids and not being able to share materials and not being able to talk closely. It really helped us solidify those values of that interpersonal social, that's the main piece of middle school. Kids are social at middle school.
Yeah.
So it's really important.
Yeah, and Heather, we had a lot of conversations with municipal leaders, education leaders throughout the pandemic too. The one thing that always stood out was whenever there was testing going on, or it was how clean the schools were. And so, I mean, like just an amazing job by faculty and staff, student cooperation, of course, not an easy time for those kids, especially in those years to be home most of the time as well, hybrid learning, et cetera, et cetera. But that always sort of jumped out to me is how each school was able to deal with this in a thoughtful way, putting the children first. And we hadn't experienced anything like that before, so it couldn't have been easy.
No, I think we did a wonderful job keeping kids in school as much as they could be, because that was our priority value when we started planning for that first entry back into school. And I think we were able to pretty successfully keep that going throughout. Our days were a little shorter and there were things that we couldn't do the same way, but I'm really proud of our staff and our kids in terms of how they came through it.
So 6th graders in 2020 are either in the 8th grade now or they've moved on.
To high school. They're in high
Right? So the
school.
ones who experienced, as little kids, COVID, how, when you watched them over the 3 years, how did you think learning happened? How did it go? How would you say the class did as a whole?
They are different. I think there's more normalcy this year than there was last year or the year before. I think that they lost a piece of direction in their growth to some extent, being at home and being forced to be very independent, even for part of the time, before they were necessarily ready for it. Caused some difficulties for some kids. Getting the hang of what I'm supposed to do when is a little bit challenging still for them. And understanding that value of being able to follow through a continuum of learning in the same way, because it was kind of fragmented for a while.
So Principal Beatty, what do you want the public, who maybe folks who don't have kids going through the school system, what do you want them to know about O'Malley and the things happening here?
Great question. I think the most important thing for them to know is what a special place it is. It's a really very supportive community around learning, around social, around contributing. People coming in to do things like, this 3D lab was built by a set of community members over a long weekend. So
I just heard that story. We're going to
that
talk about
doesn't
that
happen
later.
in many places. So that piece is really important for people to understand how dedicated people are. Almost half of our staff went to school here and are now back teaching here. And again, that's very different. That's a unique statistic. And it's because the community's special and people want to be a part of it and people want to contribute. So that's, if I can instill anything in our kids as they come out of here, is that understanding of how special a community they have here, because it really is a very important and unique aspect of the school.
Yeah.
We have to ask about the innovation part.
Yeah.
What does the innovation part mean?
To me, innovation is, well, we had an innovation status at one point with the state, which was, based on some challenges with learning. And what it did, from my perspective, is it really gave us the opportunity to enhance some of the things that had already started up. The focus on science and STEM engineering, the focus on critical thinking and problem solving, and some collaborative work that's done, group work for kids in terms of problem solving and project-based learning was brought in and deepened a little more. And that stayed through. So it started before the innovation status came in, and since we are not technically with the state innovation status anymore, but we still have the name innovation because that's important to us. What you see today in the science centers, the spaces we have, the way we do things, the way we invest kids in the projects, the fact that they are so hands-on and have their individual responsibilities with the care for the aquaponics systems, for example. Small groups of kids really taking care of their own tank and their own ecosystem is not typical for how schools do those kinds of things. So the thoughtfulness around how we create growth in our learners and how we help them to become, to develop a unique understanding of what it means to learn and ask questions and iterate so that they're constantly trying to get better at what they're doing is really special here.
And more to your point, it's why was it important? Like we had a long email chain going as we were sort of configuring the show. Why was it important for O'Malley to show off the Science Center?
It's special. I don't know where there's another one like this anywhere. I've been to other schools that have put these kinds of things in place. They might have a bio lab or a chem lab or something like that, but it's not the space. But it's more importantly the like I said, the way the kids get to touch what they're doing. So there are some places who have extravagant equipment for aquaponics, for example, but it's more of a giant demo station where they've got one station that's being run more by the adults than by the kids, and the kids learn from it and they take their samples and make decisions and predictions and hypotheses, but they don't actually do the running of the system, and they don't have control over it the same way. Our kids,
cool.
They have their group of 3. They name their fish. The fish fertilize the water. They have to make sure the chemicals are correct in the water and it's all balanced. And so they end up creating the harvest that they come away with, and it's all theirs. They own it. And that's different, and you don't find it in other places.
Yeah. Well, we're really looking forward to spending time here
good.
today at O'Malley. And we thank you for your hospitality as well.
Very
And you're going to
welcome.
come back and join us before we say goodbye, right?
I am. So
Okay.
thank you
so
for having
much.
me.
Thank
Nice
you
to
so
talk
much.
with you.
Yeah. Principal Lynn Beatty joined us, and she will be back in a little bit. So, I mean, you've been here for a little while now. Impressed by what's going on down here in the Science Center?
And this whole project-based learning is totally what I think learning should always be.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So
the best.
hands-on.
And for this age group, I'm gonna ask about that. But it seems like it's just a perfect fit for this age group as learners.
And we're coming to you from the 3D printing room, but there are so many other things going on out here as well. And is Dave ready for us? Yeah, we'll wave on, and this is Dave Brown. Now he is the engineering specialist here at O'Malley. Yeah, come on in. How are you, Dave?
Hi,
Thanks
Dave.
for joining us.
Hello.
Good to see you again.
Good to have you guys here.
It's great to be here.
Yeah. So off the top, Dave, I guess, what is your role here? And then I guess we'll get into the specifics on what people can expect if they were to come through the Science Lab, or what the components of the Science Center are.
It's my role here.
Yeah. Who are you and what do you do? Yeah.
Well, so in the middle school we have core teachers, and then there are specialists, and they teach the blocks that are not the core curriculum. I'm the generalist.
It also says you're the engineering specialist. Is that true?
It does say that.
Yeah, it does say that.
It does say that. So I wear a few different hats. The build out of the physical space is a big part of my job. Classroom layout, materials, equipment, support. So I work with all the science classes in the building. I work with all the 7th grade and 8th grade math classes in the building. And I work with all the 6th grade math classes when we're not in COVID.
Yeah. Are you a very patient man, Dave?
I have all day.
Well, I mean, 6th graders, 7th graders.
Yeah,
It's all,
teaching math is 6th, 7th, and 8th graders.
Well, it's a thing. We have this thing. So one of the tricks to moving a 6th grade teacher to 7th grade is that
Yeah.
they're 6th graders themselves. So you have to sort
It's
of
on the
adopt,
resume.
You have to
Yeah.
adopt this mindset.
Yeah.
Right? So we're all sort of
you
adolescent
could teach here, Kory.
you think so? It's a dangerous thing.
These might be your people.
They are as people.
Yeah. So, Dave, explain the components to the Science Center here. Like, we're in the 3D printing room.
We are.
Yep.
So we're in the print lab, or what we affectionately call the design lab. We do a lot of things in here beyond CAD. CAD is one of the computer-assisted design work, and then linking that to 3D printing to bring that sort of CAD design work
Which is what all
out
this
down
is.
to the physical world. Like take the idea, pull it out of your imagination, and then print it in
Print
an
it.
object that you can hand to someone else. Sort of magical kind of stuff, right? For us. To get to that point, we do a lot of drawing. We work on drafting. This big stack behind me is a stack of drafting boards. So all the furniture
Oh.
goes away, all the tables come out, the
So
whole room
actual
reshifts.
drawing with a
Actually, physically drawing. with a pencil on paper. And we do that
Now they're
because,
speaking my language.
right?
Yes, exactly. Pencil and paper.
There's a tactile nature to that can't be made in any other way. Paper has tooth. If you use the wrong paper for drafting, it's either a giant smudge or it's so glossy you have to bear down too hard. These are just little details, but that doesn't exist in the CAD world.
No, the CAD
It's
is
not
all
there.
on the computer, right? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So the existence of a line or the drawing of a shape that fools you into believing it's three-dimensional, we can do on paper, right? We can make an Escher drawing that is sort of a, I don't know, interpretation of an object in 2 dimensions. And if you can do it on paper, then why can't you do it on the screen? That's CAD.
So is this part of the flow of the curriculum, the initially drawing on paper and then CAD and then 3D printing? Is that all one continuum, or are kids like 6th graders doing drawing and 7th graders are doing the CAD? No.
That's a really good question. So, do you consider yourself to be a linear thinker?
No, not really.
Concentric?
So,
Yes.
right? So you get at, some people get at things by going around them.
Right.
And they need to see them a couple of different ways before they approach it. Sort of dog thing always goes around before it goes, right? So there is a linear progression of understanding. There certainly is one in mathematics or applied mathematics. You have to learn the new symbols and learn the new processes as you go forward, or it's just too much sometimes. But for many people, the concepts that we explore in geometry, which is complicated mathematics at the middle school level, they conceptually can work that process 5th grade. They're already
That's so
there. They
interesting,
can't tell
right.
you that,
Right.
and they're not going to explain it in the language that geometry is taught, and they don't have the formulatic approach, right? But conceptually, they're right there.
Right. So interesting.
So untangling that a little bit is why we work in the tactile world, and that's why I ended up doing laboratory science. So, right, we don't, this isn't necessarily a science classroom. This laboratory space, the science center, is a lab science center. We approach this in a very tactile, investigative,
Hands-on.
physical. Well, yeah, the sign used to say minds on, hands on. I mean, there's a whole bunch of language that goes, pick your dogma. But the process is to allow the student to have as many different approaches to that very question as we can
Interesting.
possibly supply in a day.
Yeah, yeah. So their brains are taking it in from different directions, and therefore, little crevices are being built.
Yeah. Well, so Dave, how about students must come through that have a natural attraction to the sciences, right? And then in this process, how do you deal with a student who maybe science isn't his thing, or
Who would that be?
well, right? So okay, well, so explain. Does this just seem like because things are so tactile, and is it easy for a 5th grader to come in and want to get involved and open their mind to learning
one
more,
who
or is it difficult?
Yeah,
That's
they want to
another
write
good
poetry.
question. So can you swing the pendulum the other way, in other words? And yeah. And this is why one of our mantras here is that everybody does everything. So the lab is set up in such a way that we can accommodate all the students. Some are learners when they come in the door, and some your head's already full of something, and I don't have the learning switch on today, dude. I don't care what form you put it in, right? And we need to be able to accommodate everybody in that room, because everybody's here, and we're all going to try this, and we're all going to move forward. And it's middle school. So we're already sort of set up in such a way that if the 3-dimensional world isn't making sense to you, like very few academics are good with a hammer. There's a couple.
Yeah.
But most of us who are very good at ciphering the academic world might not have too much of a grip on the physical world, or how something is held together by that tape that you put on there. Remember the tape? Oh, the tape. I forgot the tape. And they're just not even there.
Yeah.
So we approach at the speed and in the environment where everybody can just sort of fit in.
So tell us about the other rooms that make up the Science Center here, and what students are learning there.
Well, we started with one classroom, right? We started with one of the classrooms down the hallways. GEF put up a bunch of cash. The school district made room in the building, and it started this small program in there. We did everything in that room, from manufacturing biodiesel fuel from waste vegetable oil to constructing those sail cars that you've seen racing around. Everything in one room.
So was O'Malley identified as going to intentionally have a science center when that GEF founding? No. Okay. So this sort of did it come out of the innovation part?
Sure.
Maybe, yeah.
Okay.
Might have.
So, but give us the year that science became a serious focus of the curriculum here.
Oh, well, long
O'Malley.
before I was here.
Okay.
Long before my time. Well, that's not true. I mean, I was a student here in 1970 something.
Another one.
Yeah. Bob Sampson was my biology teacher. I remember him clearly, as clear as a bell. I can see him in the classroom. Science was taken seriously then. We did all kinds of very cool stuff in the science labs. So that's always been a thing,
Okay.
right? The idea of picking up the vocations and connecting that back to the sciences, that's kind of a newish approach when we removed the idea of vocational learning and we removed the industrial arts from public education. It made there was a giant sucking sound and there was a hole there. It took a couple of years to realize what that might be. And then the idea of making this academic or lab-based science folding in engineering and technology and making that sort of a materials-based curriculum was one way to bring vocation back into academics,
Very
right?
interesting. Yeah.
And so there's sort of, if they had never been separated in the first place, you know, shop class, remember that word? Oh, those
Totally.
guys are shop kids. That's a totally different group. That's shop. They're down the end of the hall.
Yeah.
If they had been integrated a little more with the classic core content that's so obviously there,
Right.
measurement is a big one, comes right to mind, then it would be harder to separate them and we would see their intrinsic value, one and the other. And so that's what we're sort of building back together. That's why the space is increasing, because as we add new projects, I mean, the bridge that's behind Kory is one of 80 that was built this year alone. That's like, they're
Love that.
massive projects that require all kinds of space.
Yeah.
It's lovely that the district supports this initiative and supplies us with the physical space that you need to get this done, because that's what you don't see very often. That's a rarity. This is 10,000 square feet dedicated to this experiment.
Right.
Right.
Well said. So on any given day, what sorts of projects are going on here? What are the students
Sixth
doing?
grade is in the labs right now. This is their first day with microscopes. They're figuring out focus and going, wow, wow.
Onion skin.
Look at that. Yeah. That kind of thing, yeah. Eighth grade is next door, and they're doing water chemistry on their aquaponics system. So this is the fourth or fifth round of finding parameters in the chemistry of the water in their systems. That's been going on for a month and a half, or something like that. Seventh grade just started on the stream tables, which are out front here. So they're working on these water flow stream tables, and that's
So wave.
earth science.
Sort of-
No,
no?
waves are later and then
Okay.
added back in again. These are more like, it's the study of erosion and deposition, which is pretty dry. But what we do is play in the sand. So what happens when the water runs over it? Are you sure that's what's happening when the water runs? Are you sure? Because I'm seeing all the big stuff down here and all the little stuff up there. What's up with that?
But it's so relevant.
It kind of is relevant.
Yeah, it's pretty
we
relevant.
pride ourselves
Yeah.
on attempting to be relevant.
Yeah.
Yes, that's
Well,
big for us. It
You
really
read the
is.
Gloucester Times, and there's a lot of erosion being discussed. In
Yeah,
terms of
and
climate change.
Right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, and deposition is the other side of that. That's quite important.
Where it gets deposited.
Where's it going?
Yeah.
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 So Dave, for parents out there who have their students in the elementary schools now, before they get to O'Malley, do you have a message for them on what those students can expect as they make their way to O'Malley School?
Oh, as to parents? Parents would be the audience of this?
Yeah.
What would the message
We're
be?
not.
for parents?
they're just
We're no
some of
longer
the
on
audience.
Nickelodeon Junior here. Right? Yeah.
Or you could
Well-
be talking to the grandparents about what their great grandkids are doing here.
Yeah.
The family that we have here at O'Malley is going to support your kid. We're going to be part of this team, and so it's going to work just fine. And there's no need to be afraid of the big, scary O'Malley building. It's
Even if
gonna
that
be
child
fine.
is a poet?
Well, there's some great poetry on the walls here if you walk around.
I'll be looking.
Yeah.
So lastly, Dave, I want to know, why do you love what you do so much?
Oh, and I've spent my career breaking things mostly. So I'm a bit of a klutz, and I learn by doing that, and I like something new, and I'm easily sort of distracted by squirrel, you know? And so I've done that all over the place, every place I've worked.
You
Or
are a middle schooler.
I've worked.
Yeah, you really are a middle schooler. Yeah, exactly.
I know, it's kind of funny. So that's why I like it.
Yeah. And what are you hoping a student that goes through 6th, 7th, and 8th grade and is moving on to the high school or a trade school, whatever it may be, as that student looks back, what do you, like, I want the sense of satisfaction you get. What are you hoping that student takes with them as they move on past O'Malley?
Oh, that they're gonna walk up and poke it. Just try it. See if you can feel comfortable. Try this. Experiment with that. Be confident enough to
Yeah,
just
that's a
take a
big
guess.
thing.
Just take a guess. I don't know. You guess. Guess. Let's find out. So that sense of confidence that it's gonna be fine and I can figure it out.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, we really appreciate your time and your hospitality as we've gotten to know you the last few days, setting things up here too. It's been awesome talking to you. We can't wait. We'd love to do another show here, maybe in the fall, and follow up and see what interesting things are going on then.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
We'd love to have you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for your time.
Thanks for your time.
There you go. Dave Brown, folks, the engineering specialist. It says it right on his card. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Dave.
it.
See you guys.
So interesting, right? We could have very long conversations here.
Yeah, and he is so awesome to talk to. And there is a lot going on. There's actually students, he's going back to the 6th grade class right now where they're on microscopes for the first time. Checking
And the
that out.
aquaponics place.
Yeah, I remember I was here a few years ago when it opened up, and I was blown away then, and it's only gotten bigger and better.
Yeah.
It's beautiful in there too, so we're getting some great footage inside there as well. So Maggie, come on up, have a seat with us. So yeah, it was great talking with, we've already spoken with Principal Lynn Beatty and then Dave Brown, and now joining us is Maggie Rosa of the Gloucester Education Foundation. Good to see you again, Maggie.
Thank you, Kory. Thank you.
So nice to have you.
Nice to be here.
Yeah, so Maggie is someone who is so involved in especially STEM education and integrating that into the community in a variety of ways. To see how the Science Center has taken root here at O'Malley, how does that make you feel?
Warm in the heart.
Yeah.
It's just fantastic to see what David and Amy have done over the years and how they continue to be thinking about new things and expanding. So you were saying, I think, about changes. Every time I come here, there's been something that's changed. You know, I think the floor outside was very new. You know, I don't come, you know, maybe every 3 months or so.
Yeah.
But
That's amazing. Every 3 months there's something new.
Yeah?
Yeah.
well, that's what it seems.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always so exciting to come.
So you were really instrumental. I'm going to say instrumental. You're going to object, but I know you were in making so much of this lab happen. So you want to tell us the story of that?
Well, so I do. I'm going to argue with you about
Okay.
being instrumental.
I'll let you.
So we will settle on that. Basically, GEF was founded by a visionary, Ed Shuker, back in 2005, when a lot of school districts had education foundations, but there was not one in Gloucester, and there were sufficient financial cuts that the schools were really hurting, and so the education is, you know, really suffering. So Ed had this goal of making Gloucester Public Schools one of the 5 best districts in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts in 5 years. That was an outrageous goal. But what he did was, you have to have a, you know, it's a moonshot, right? So you make it, and you can argue about what one of the, you know, being one of the 5 best is. It's not if it's just demographics, it's
Right.
not going to be. But if you're talking about overall school districts, I think Gloucester's doing very well, thank you. Yes. And that's not just because of what GEF does, it's the teamwork. It's, the students, their culture. I think it's probably the culture of Gloucester, the teachers and the administrators all working well together.
Yeah.
And so we can come in and find funding for things. So so the thing that got the STEM lab, the Bird's Eye Hammond STEM lab off the ground was finding a member of a family foundation that lived in Gloucester and had the family foundation had connections with MIT's Edgerton Centre. And Ed works really well on getting people excited. And so I think it's probably back in 2007, we got this grant of $1.5 million. Now that is it's a big chunk
Very
of money.
significant, yeah.
For over 3 years between the two organizations, the Gloucester Public School District and the MIT Edgerton Centre. So that enabled a lot of collaborations, and I think David and Amy still have collaborations. We used to take kids down to a science camp, so that initiated the STEM lab,
Right.
and a lot of other things. And then Amy and David, being Amy and David, started expanding. And they were not shy at asking GEF for more funding. And so it's grown to this. And with the generosity of many community members and grants and from organizations like New England Biolabs, it's grown. And David and Amy are not shy at going to write their own grants these days.
I see.
That, they just do whatever it takes to get
So
this.
you told a wonderful story about the community make-a-thon.
Oh,
And
yes.
that's how these 3D printers ended up in this room. Will you retell that story?
Yes. So I've found the photo on my iPhone back in the fall of, it was 2014. David and Amy wanted to bring 3D printing in. GEF had funded big 3D printers in the high school, but David and Amy wanted individual teamwork printers, okay? And they were going to get the students to build them, but the prototype making made them realize that wasn't going to be a student, it would be too difficult or too time consuming.
And excuse me, but people can see these are behind us, and they are
Yes,
really
these are
complicated.
so they look
looking
very
machines.
Rube Goldbergish. But anyway, so we've got 24 of these kits, and David and Amy put out a call to the community.
Yeah.
And 50 people came in,
I
spent
remember
a
this.
weekend.
Yeah, I remember the weekend, yeah.
Did you participate?
We shot some, we visited. We visited before, during, and after,
okay.
yeah.
We were served very good food. And there was always a big cheer when they went up. So these printers are still functioning. Now, some of the parts, the components are plastic, and if they wear out, they're 3D printed. So it's a bit like, you're self-replicating. But it's amazing. So you see what they're making, what they've made. They have to design things.
So wait, hold on. Are you saying that when a part wears out, they just make a new one?
Yeah, you can make see that, if you can see the green cog, that bright green cog.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah, if that wears out, you can make a new one.
Yeah, that is really clever.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, and the school district, I think, has been very successful in providing the resources. So GEF does not like to provide supplies for things. We like to think big. I mean,
Think
it's
the
not that
best.
we don't do smaller things, but we like to do life-changing programs. that can really make an impact.
Yeah. And now, so speaking of those programs, GF, you're involved. I mean, fingers are in a lot of pies right now around the community. I know Power Play is coming up. What are the big projects that the GF working on right now?
So there's Power of Play and the Arts Festival. Great teams of volunteers working on those, and they're highlighting those on social media. Our big programs are the VOCED, CVTE programs that have taken a major leap forward with the generosity of Warren Moore from Lion War Automotives and other, again, generous donors in the community, private donors in the community.
What does CEVT stand for?
Career Vocational Technical Education. It used to be VOCED, but now that's not appropriate.
The automotive, like that,
And
high school, the automotive shops and all that, amazing.
Yeah, and when you go there, we were there at a site visit not too long ago, and it's just amazing to see how engaged the students are. That, and they're respectful. They, are prepared to talk to you about their programs. Very mature, very mature then. So that's one big thing. Another big grant that we funded the district was for upgrading the sound system. So that was about $90,000 for the sound system in the high school auditorium. And we have just funded a feasibility study that we hope the district will be able to find the funds to make this happen as well, to overhaul the auditorium in the school as well as the high school. It may be hugely expensive, but that we need a feasibility study in order to determine how expensive these projects would be.
Yeah, there's some big happenings going on.
And that was, so we lost a beautiful auditorium when with that Fuller school, right? So is there a lack of a really good, solid one at this point?
Well, I think the size of the high school auditorium is fine. I think the stage, as I'm not totally familiar with these things, I think the stage in O'Malley is too small. The back rooms in the high school are pretty shoddy, and the lighting. Now, the lighting is a big ticket. We were down in Chelsea High School, and they had just done their lighting, redone their lighting, $700,000.
Yeah, you have no idea. We have all sorts of special lighting on you today, Maggie.
Oh wow! Yeah. showing the wrinkles.
It's a blur, though.
So those are some of the big projects, and we don't take on those too often. And when teachers provide grants, they first approach GEF to see if it's feasible. If it's the kind of grant we would fund, and then it has to be approved by the district and the high school principal, and then we'll do it. But we're pretty generous. Another program on a much lower scale is an interesting one that will provide students in the East Veterans School with bicycles, so that to teach students how to ride a bicycle, which you never forget if you get that skill. But there's an awful lot of students who don't have the funding for their own, or the space for their own bikes. So that's one of the ways that we are trying to reach out more. We attempt to reach out as much as possible, but that's a specific one.
And so practical. I mean,
it's a very practical one, yes.
Yeah, I love that plan. And then maybe to teach them how to ride safely in the city, which is a whole other issue.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Start with a rotary.
Well, they pave over the centre of the Rotary.
They did.
The Blackburn Rotary. What's that? That's a wasted space,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah, well,
now-
we'll follow up on that because I think that's a really interesting idea.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, wait until the bikes are here.
Yes.
And the students are riding and falling and
And we're
Yeah,
going
we
to
can
send
do
the
a show
cameras
from a
out.
bicycle, a tandem bicycle. We'll just go.
Hi, Kory.
Yeah. So Maggie, if people want to learn more about the Gloucester Education Foundation, how can they go about doing that? How can they help out?
Well, you can Google Gloucester Education Foundation. Our website is a throwback to Educare again, thinkthebest.org.
Thinkthebest.org, right?
Yeah, but Gloucester Education will get you there.
Yes. Perfect. Well, yeah. Just go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'm going to think the best about those bicycles.
Well, I'm glad I thought to mention them.
Yes.
Maggie, thanks for spending some time with us
You're
today. It was
very
great catching
welcome.
up.
It's a
you.
fun thing to do.
Thank you so much for all the help the GF's doing for the schools here. It's amazing. Thank you. Maggie Rosa of the Gloucester Education Foundation.
That was a delightful conversation.
You haven't chatted
Yeah.
with Maggie in a while. It's always fun. There's always so many things going on. The GEF, my God, I mean,
Yeah, they-
millions and millions they've poured into the public schools here too, and the results
Because
speak for
they-
themselves.
They think the best.
They do. They
Yeah.
do. They shoot high, like you said, moonshots all the time, and they pay off. So amazing work all around. So
Yeah.
all right, joining us next is Amy Donnelly. Amy is a science teacher here. She's also the program leader for
Amy.
O'Malley.
Hi,
How are you, Amy? Good to see you again.
Good to see you again.
Great
Yeah.
to have you here.
Thanks, Heather.
Yeah. Off of Zoom, in real life.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So,
tired of Zoom.
Yeah, so Amy, we've heard your name 100 times today already. I guess
Yeah.
just start us on the top. Like, so what is your role here? How many students are you overseeing? What sorts of work are you doing with them?
Oh, okay. So right now I'm an 8th grade science teacher, and I have around 80 students that are spread over 4 classes. I am the program leader for the middle school science program leader. So I have a hand in each grade, in curriculum development and execution. So it's a lot of fun. Very busy.
Yeah.
Very busy, yeah. So we're about to talk to 3 different groups of students, 2 6th graders, 2 7th graders, and 2 8th graders. So just give us the overview of what each one of them is studying, each group is studying.
Oh, wow. Okay. So in the middle school, our science program is a general science program. So every year there are components of life science, earth science, and physical science, along with technology and engineering. So, yes. So in 6th grade, they'll focus on the cells and body systems in their life science, for instance. And then in 7th grade, they'll move on and look at ecosystems and environments when they do their life science. And then in 8th grade, life science moves into classification, genetics, heredity, and evolution. So you see this kind of strand that runs through the 3 grades.
So Amy, as a student yourself growing up, when did you always have a scientific bent to you, or you were drawn to the sciences, or did that develop over time? How did you sort of follow this path?
So when I was little, girls that were very interested in all things science were called tomboys, I think was the word. So you didn't quite fit into the girl category of your interests. So I was always referred to as a tomboy, and that didn't bother me. But I was always very interested in, I was melting crayons outside, I was capturing things, I was studying them, building bridges to get to frogs in the ponds. So my interest in science goes way back. So
Well, so how satisfying is it now doing what you're doing?
it's fantastic.
Yeah.
I think I'm a middle schooler at heart, and I love science, I love experimenting. I'm excited about everything that we do. One of the students once said to me, I said, oh, we're going to do this next. It's my favorite. And they're like, Mrs. Donnelly, everything's your favorite. And I said, I know, aren't I lucky? I'm very lucky.
Yeah.
So.
And what is it about the students in this age range too? Are they just, is it a great learning phase for them? Are things coming to them easy? Do they absorb things quickly? Like any obstacles there or challenges? Or
Oh, all of them.
Yeah.
They're fantastic. They're wonderful. They're not elementary students. They're not high school students. They have, they're cool, but then they're kids. And, we just have to straddle that line in everything that we do.
Yeah.
So
Is there something, Over the years, as you've taught middle schoolers, do you see something specific about the learning at these ages? Are they particularly receptive, maybe more receptive than high school students would be to this sort of content, or less receptive, distracted? What do you think? This age?
I think at this age, they really appreciate this type of learning. Their studies are getting harder in all of their subjects, so if there's a chance to see it applied in the way that maybe they can see it better, then it definitely is helping them. I have students that just thrive when they're in the lab, and you can see that the wheels turning and everything is making sense to them when they apply it in something that they're doing that has meaning to them.
And now the students you have now we're going through the pandemic in the elementary schools. Have you sort of had to double down to help kids catch up to where a 6th, 7th, or 8th grader should be in their development, learning development scale?
Yes, but it is across the board. So we know what to expect when the kids come in. We were very lucky in Gloucester that we stayed in school for that year that a lot of schools went remote. So we were here, we were doing things, we were focusing on what were priority standards for the kids to really move forward. So I think in 6th grade, they're doing a great job catching up the kids, and then we're picking up the slack as we go along.
That's good.
Yeah, and when you're thinking out the curriculum for a new school year, so how fun is that? What goes into it? Is it a collaborative process? Are you dreaming up scenarios and projects for students?
So it is collaborative within the teaching staff of the science program. So we, push the science teachers and say, what would you like to do? If you had your dream way to teach this, how would you teach it? And how can we support you in the science center to do that? Because a lot of the labs are materials and labor intensive. So it might be something a teacher doesn't take on in their classroom alone, especially if they have to do it 4 times in a row with no time for turnover. So with our intern from Salem State and with our engineering specialist here, we can kind of help teachers teach in the way that they feel will be most effective and support them in that.
So we're kind of jumping around with questions,
Yeah.
but I'm
That's
going to
okay.
return to that bridge. I've been wondering about it all morning. So when do kids do the bridge project?
The bridge project started in 8th grade when we first developed it, and then the standards were realigned by grades by the Department of Ed. So it is now a 7th grade project.
Okay, and what are they learning there?
So they are, so the bridge project, they are learning all about the components of a structural bridge. So they learn the forces of tension, compression, shear, torsion, and they apply those to make a bridge that they can walk across over their ice cream sundae. So
Wow.
yeah.
So they can walk on that.
they
That's-
walk on the top. So
Yeah.
they get a thin board that is like a wet lasagna noodle, and their job in 3 days is to build the supporting trusses and structures that will allow them and their teammates to walk across the bridge without it breaking.
And if it breaks,
yeah,
no
to-
dessert for you.
Well, some sticks in your ice cream sundae.
Yeah,
We record the walk, and then we look for structural failures, and we can slow those down, and the kids can really see firsthand, did it feel under tension? Did it feel under compression? What happened to your bridge?
Yeah. How long does that lesson take from the beginning to the Sundays on the walk?
I would say there's probably 3 or 4 days in the classroom where
wow.
they're doing smaller experiments that, help their understanding of the forces. They'll do some book work, they'll see some videos, do some interactives, and then they come down and build. And the build itself takes about 3 days. So
There's so much in that lesson, right?
it's huge.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
huge.
Is it a big moment for the 7th graders when they
Walk.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
I can imagine. And what time of year does that happen?
It happens November in the fall.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a good one.
great.
Come by for a Sunday.
I
We've
went
had
to-
many,
Or
we've had
Crush
many
Sunday.
people come
Yeah.
down. Usually you'll get roped into scooping though, so
I'd be happy to scoop. I would
Great.
love to see this.
yeah, it's great stuff.
So
Yeah.
Amy, as a little girl who was in love with science, right,
Yes.
from very early on, to see how these lessons are applied to students nowadays, what are the big differences there, and just how does that make you feel to see the advances, not only in technology, but hands-on learning that's now available to students today?
I think it's so exciting. I think it is motivating for students to be here and to, finish their projects and work with their classmates to be successful. So I feel like it's a great way to apply what they're learning in the classroom to something that they can connect to, like their bridge or their aquaponics system or whatever it happens to be.
So do you think there's one piece of the curriculum that the kids are like, oh my gosh, I can't wait till I get to do that, and all the other kids are saying, wait till you do that, it's the best? Is there one of those? Like, is it 3D printing?
3D printing is pretty popular.
I bet,
3D printing. But they do walk in the first day of school and say, when are we going to do whatever the big project for that grade is? So I'm sure the 7th grade teachers here, when are we going to do bridges?
Yeah,
And the 8th grade teachers here, when are we going to 3D print? When are we going to do our aquaponics systems?
Okay.
So,
And how about
yeah.
the 6th graders, those poor 6th graders?
They just come from those elementary schools. They don't know what hits them.
Yeah, right. That's right. They're just trying to
Yeah.
find their way
Yeah,
around
they're
the school.
exactly,
Yeah,
their locker.
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, lastly, Amy, we're asking everybody this, but why do you love what you do so much? Because it's apparent.
I would say it's the students. I love working with middle school students. I love watching the light bulbs go off. I love seeing them brag about their work or really get engaged in their learning. So.
Nicely said. So seems to be a theme today, right? Big
see
celebration
why.
here in the Science
Yeah,
Center.
yeah.
Amy, thank you so much for your time. We really
Well, is
appreciate
Amy
it.
going to introduce
She is.
Yeah.
I am going to
Yeah,
introduce
you
Yes,
our
right.
teachers.
So we're starting with the 6th graders now? Okay.
Yes,
All right.
I'm out of the hot seat.
All right, so we'll look at our seats squared away. If you're just tuning in, she is Heather and I'm Kory, and we are at Cape Ann today, live from O'Malley Middle School here on Cherry Street in Gloucester, and we are in the Science Center learning about all the cool things going on here. And we're about to be joined by 6th grade teacher and her students.
Hi.
Is it Mariah Shannon?
Hello.
Hi, Mariah.
Mariah's our teacher, right?
Yes.
Hi, Mariah.
Hi.
And hi there. How are you?
All right, and
How
your
are
names
you?
are Eve.
I'm good.
And how are you?
Yeah. Good. Okay, so let's get introductions here. So our teacher, right, Mariah Shannon is joining us. Thank you so much. You're a 6th grade teacher here at O'Malley?
I am.
All right, and your names are?
I am Eva Rafala.
Yeah. I know your mom, Eva. And you?
I'm Betsy Telep.
Betsy, nice to meet you both. Thanks for joining us today. So Mariah, right off the top, what is your role here and what sorts of things are you teaching 6th grade students?
Well, I teach science, but we cover everything from space and right now we're in earth science, so we're doing like tectonic plates. We just switched gears a little bit and right now we're working on microscopes in the lab.
First day of microscopes, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So what do you guys think of that?
Neither of us have had science, but we've been in there.
Yeah.
It seems really cool, like looking at microorganisms. It's cool to see what they have done.
Yeah. So, and what did you do, just what segment of the curriculum did you do last? What were you working on?
We just did plate tectonics, so like earthquakes, we learned about them, and the different types, the layers of Earth and stuff like that.
Pretty amazing, right?
It must have been pretty interesting to, were you doing that program when the earthquake in Turkey happened?
Yeah.
Yeah, we were.
That's pretty cool. I mean, not for Turkey, but did you pay particular attention to that story?
Yeah, it was really interesting to see.
Were you hearing things that you had learned?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what are you actually doing to study those things? Are we looking at global maps and seeing where like tectonic plates are? How is that being applied, Mariah? Do you know?
Yeah, so we did look at maps. We did a couple different activities. One of them we used, what am I looking for?
Graham crackers?
Yeah, graham crackers. We used graham crackers and we sheared them and learned about earthquakes. So it was fun to have something to work with that we could also eat.
And what are you trying to recreate movement, or how are you
Yeah.
doing that?
Movement.
It would show how like tectonics would like a piece would like break off when the boundaries would, whatever the boundary was, like what the plate would do.
Interesting.
Like you could predict where it would go, where it would
Yeah.
Well,
move.
If it like slides past each other, that you can see what happens if, like, pretending it's a real plate, when they collide or pull apart. You can see what would
or
happen.
like go underneath and over
Oh, yeah.
each other.
Have you ever felt an earthquake before?
I
No.
haven't known.
No, never. We
Have
get
you?
them here every now and then.
Yeah.
I have, yes. I used to
Yeah.
live on a fault line out in Los Angeles, and it was in New Zealand as well, which is the Andreas Fault there. They get hundreds and hundreds of earthquakes a day, which is pretty amazing. So, all right, so what else will the students be learning in this school year?
After we wrap this up, we'll move into, we'll finish, once we finish fossils, we'll be doing cells, and then we'll work our way up to human body systems, and then at the end of the year, we'll be back down here and they'll be dissecting frogs, which is always,
Oh my gosh,
It's
this is the
something.
year
Wait,
you
is that
dissect
good or
frogs?
bad? Is that good or bad?
depends on the kid.
Well,
I'm pretty excited. I
are
guess.
you really? Yeah?
Yeah.
So have you always liked science and interested in this sort of a thing, or is this new to you?
I like science, yeah, but we didn't get to do a lot of science in elementary school, so I'm really excited that in middle school we have more time.
Yeah, we had like 20 minutes like at the end of the day to do whatever our teacher assigned us, and it wasn't very long to finish or start a project. So we would have to like break it up across 3 days if we were doing a long project.
Oh, yeah.
So this is a whole different kind of learning. It's like you're really focusing on it for a long period of time, and you're doing things, right, with graham crackers or frogs. So can either one of you identify something that, like a wow moment, like, oh, I didn't know that you've had this year in this science curriculum?
I didn't know there were so many types of plate boundaries. I knew that there were tectonic plates and they moved and they shifted and caused earthquakes. I didn't know there were so many different types of movements.
Wow, I didn't either. Can you name one?
There's compression, tension, and there's shear.
And
Look at you.
those, right?
Yeah.
And those three things can be the effect of an earthquake.
Those three things can cause an earthquake and cause a lot different disasters.
Yeah, so interesting.
Yeah, what are you looking forward to in classes?
So wait, we didn't hear your wow moment.
Yeah, has there been something that's been like, oh, wow, I didn't think we were going to be learning something like that, or that blew my mind, it was so cool.
Well, when we were looking at the microorganisms, it was really cool to see like how many living things are in like just water all around us.
Isn't that
Yeah.
amazing?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Life is incredible, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And so what, Mariah, has been the response when you get a new classroom of students? Are they all sort of have a little bit of an interest in science? Does it take much to get them going? Is it because it's so hands-on, it's easy for them to widen their eyes and get involved?
Yeah, so the hands-on aspect really like gets them interested.
Mhm.
But as Eva was saying, I've been here, this is my third year. Each time that the kids have come up, it's been like, oh, we've only had a short amount of time in science class, so the amount of activities that we do, I guess, really grabs them and they get excited.
Yeah. So, and is your science block during the day, do you just have like, is that how it works? You have one block a day where you're down here in the science center, or a couple of times a week? How often are you down in here working on stuff?
Well, it depends on what unit we're doing. Depends on like the unit that we're doing has different projects and different times that they happen. But I think we were supposed to do a project and got canceled because there was an issue with computers, and so that project didn't go on. But there's other projects where we can do upstairs that are super cool and fun. And then there's projects that we do down here that we occasionally come down. We didn't come down very much, but the projects have been very fun and they lasted for days. It's very fun.
Yeah.
What were some of the ones upstairs?
So the graham cracker lab we
Oh,
did
okay.
upstairs,
Yeah.
which was it was very interesting to see like how they would.
I think that is a really interesting way to learn about tectonic plates. Yeah. We're all living on a bunch of graham crackers.
How about what do you want to learn next? I mean, if we know we're going to be dissecting frogs at some point, but is there anything like that's the project I want to do?
Yeah. I think it'd be interesting to learn about like living organisms more.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
So what-
After having looked in that microscope, right? It's, yeah.
Well, yeah, then I imagine you're applying that to, in 7th grade, right, working on the sandboards, in 8th grade, working on aquaponics. Is there a flow to the curriculum where what the students are working on now, is that happening at the next level in 7th grade and then 8th grade?
A little bit in 7th, but 8th really repeats what's taught in 6th. But there are some stuff that go across the board. Like the samples that they're looking at are the 8th grade's aquaponic water.
Yeah.
So we just borrowed from them.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and I want to ask you both, so if there's a student in 5th grade coming to O'Malley for the first time next year, what advice would you give them about what they're going to learn in the Science Center?
I would say definitely have an open mind because we didn't do very much in 5th grade. And we did dissect owl pellets, which I thought was kind of interesting, but a lot of people didn't like it. It was like one of those gross ones, hands-on.
Yeah.
And so people like didn't stop liking science because it was like it disgusted them completely. And I think coming here is gonna change. Like if you pay attention, and you'll learn stuff, and you'll find a new facts that you'll be interested in.
How about, do you have any advice?
I agree with Eva. I think that you should definitely keep an open mind, and there's a lot of cool things that we learned about in 6th grade that I really enjoyed.
Yeah, very nice. Well, we thank you all for your time. We're going to let you get back to class now. How come you guys aren't on a field trip today?
Oh, that's 7th grade.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, when do the 6th graders get to go?
Oh, we're actually just working on planning one upstairs.
Oh, really?
This
Where would
morning.
that be?
I know that we're doing the Cape Ann Museum.
Oh, yeah, nice.
We used to do the Museum of Science, but once COVID hit, we haven't reconfigured that yet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
KP Museums to go. Maritime Gloucester is another good place to go visit too. Lots
Do you
of
guys like Maritime
microorganisms
Gloucester?
there.
We did a field trip there last year.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. But that
Nice.
was before the new center with the kids, the new kids center?
They just opened up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
new science center
Right.
there. So.
Well, you'll have to go there too. Well, you guys were so eloquent and interesting to talk to. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah.
And,
Was it
yeah,
good getting out of class to do this today? Yeah, pretty good, right? So, okay, thanks for your time.
Thank you. I
Thank
think
you.
they want to go back to class, Kory.
Well,
I
that's it.
think
They seem
you
they
have
seem
the
pretty
wrong
happy.
attitude. They
Yeah,
have the right
they love it.
attitude.
It's good. Okay, thank you
Thank
for
you,
joining
guys.
us. So you got that was Betsy and Eva and Mariah.
You guys were
They
6th
were
grade class
so
She did so
articulate
here.
and intelligent.
Hold on one sec.
Really
Yeah.
impressive.
And
Yeah.
truth be
How
told,
you
though,
over?
Eva's mom has been a guest on our show.
I know she has. And Eva's
That was for
mom should
election
be
season.
very proud. Yes,
I believe,
that's
yeah.
what it was.
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
very involved. So, yeah, come on in, folks.
Hi, you guys.
All right, and now we've graduated to 7th grade, Heather.
All right, you guys are back from the field trip?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, where'd you go?
Peabody Essex Museum.
Oh, beautiful.
Nice. What's the takeaway from the Peabody Essex?
Just looking at ancient China, like relics, and how they're different.
All right, so we're joined by
nice.
Dan Thomases, the teacher, 7th grade teacher here at O'Malley. And your names?
Trayton Bushfield.
Trayton.
John Novelli.
Nice to meet you both, or all three of you, actually. I guess right off the top, Dan, I guess explain what the curriculum is for 7th grade students here. What do you teach them throughout the year? Like, what are they focusing on right now?
Well, so throughout the year, 7th grade science, we focus on a bunch of different aspects of life science in terms of ecosystems and the way that they change depending on impacts like natural impacts, like landslides or natural disasters, or impacts like more invasive species. We also talked a little bit about energy transfer. We built Rube Goldberg machines. And most recently, we've been working on stream tables to study a little bit about the ways that water and sand interact, the depositions that are created by them, as well as a little bit about what engineers can do to create a better environment. And that's what we were just working on in the last couple of days.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
So, Trayton and John, do you want to tell us a bit about these? What is it now? The sand
Stream
tables?
tables,
The
stream
stream
tables.
tables? What's that all about?
We try to build reservoirs and just like things to stop water,
but also let a little bit out so that it kind of reflects and is like rebuilding reservoirs.
Okay.
And then, hold on a second. So
Yeah.
when you build that reservoir, are you creating deposition someplace else?
Yes, it carries the water down, and then there's a filter in a bucket, and then the water drops through and goes right back up again.
Okay.
So it collects the sand in the bucket.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and in nature, that would, maybe you want to answer this, John. Well, in nature, what would that be looking like?
That would like change like the way that the landform is. Like the rivers could like split into two different directions and like connect back again in a different spot.
So that deposition could make the river split?
Yes.
Yeah. So this is pretty serious stuff if you live by the river,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Well, you can even see something like what a beaver dam can do to the ecosystem and
Yeah.
alter river courses. It's
Do you
pretty
study
amazing.
beaver dams?
No.
No, it is true though. Yeah.
Yeah.
Changes things a lot.
Yeah. Well, so how cool is it to do all this hands-on work, right? First of all, were you doing the graham cracker stuff last year?
No, I don't think
No?
so.
You didn't do that? Tectonic plates? Did you study
Oh, we did.
We did
for the
tectonic
first
plates,
little bit
but
of sixth
We
grade.
didn't do like the graham crackers.
No, no.
Okay.
So how much well, one, do you like science, and do you like learning this way that you're doing this hands-on?
I like science, yeah, and I really do like the stream tables and like being able to work with the sand and the rocks and seeing like how the water flows.
How about you, John?
I like science and I like what we're learning now, like compared to what we learned last year. It's like more fun in my opinion.
Yeah, big difference.
More engaging, like
Yeah.
actually engaging.
Were you always like into science when you were younger? Like there were certain things that you liked, or was it sort of like, oh wait, here's a whole science center here with we're learning different things?
Yeah, I think for me, like math was my favorite subject, and then coming into middle school, science has gotten a lot more interesting and like more fun to work with.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never really had a science class, and I didn't really like it very much. But now that like I'm in middle school, it's more fun.
Yeah.
So did you guys do a bridge in November?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. Did your bridges stand up?
yeah,
You were able to walk across them?
yeah.
Yeah. So what did you learn in the bridge project?
I didn't know that triangles were the strongest shape, but
That's the triangles, right?
yeah, that helped a lot with building them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you, John?
I learned that like the squares weren't gonna hold up as well as the triangles would be. So when I had my first design on my paper, Mr. Thompson came up to me and told me it's not gonna work very well because there's no triangles in the design.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how good did that ice cream taste after when you walked over your own bridge?
I didn't get to finish it though. We had to leave too soon, so I had to throw it out.
Oh, right.
Oh.
Yeah.
So, and do you, are you also doing geometry when you're studying that bridge project so that you're learning about
I
triangles?
don't think we are.
You didn't, right?
No, we didn't.
Yeah. I think Dave talked about when you do geometry. Have you done geometry at all yet?
Yeah, we just started in
Yeah, we're
math.
starting.
Oh,
in math
okay.
class.
See, they should have it back in the fall when you're doing those
Yeah.
bridges.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Dan, talk about working with seventh graders. Like, what do you love about it? How receptive are they to the curriculum? What things are you trying to implement to make science more fun?
Well, I love the seventh graders because they are so unpredictable, which can be really good and really difficult. But they are very excited to participate.
Yeah.
I feel like this year especially, there's been a lot of kids that have really just raised their hands, just wanting to share what they know and their ideas about what they think about science, or just their guesses when I ask them questions. Right now with the stream tables, it's just really nice to get to see them play and try to figure out what the challenges are in front of them. Like how do they come up with some kind of different way to prevent water from moving past the reservoir, or also the first day where we were trying to keep see what happens when the stream bed was clear, and just their observations. Sometimes their observations can be very keen. So I love getting to hear them. I hear their questions that they ask, and just the excitement that they get from doing those hands-on experiences.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We have to ask about COVID. You kids are COVID learners. You're a COVID teacher. What was your learning experience like?
We were always on Zoom calls, and I really loved that because I didn't want to have to go into school. So I could wear like a sweatshirt and just have pajama bottoms on. So I thought it was better.
But did you miss your friends? Seeing
Well,
them every day?
we had a bubble, so I would hang out with them a lot.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I liked it a lot better than normal school.
Do you feel like you learned?
Yeah, I learned a
You kept up?
little bit. I learned about cockroaches, but that's pretty much it.
So that was in the 5th grade? No, fourth
fourth
grade.
grade.
You
Yeah.
guys were with COVID.
Yeah.
And how about you, John?
I did not like the online learning. It's too hard for me.
Yeah.
I struggled with it.
Yeah.
So is it just, it's either like, it's more fun to learn when you're around friends and you have a teacher right there to talk to all the time too, so I can see that. So are there any projects now this school year that you're really looking forward to? Do you know about all the projects? Did the students know, like, oh, by the way, next month or 2 months we're working on this, or?
We talk about it at the very beginning of the year, kind of like give an overview. And so maybe they might remember that at the very end of the year we're going to be doing rockets. But
Rockets next?
Yeah, well,
Wow.
that's at the very end of the year. The next thing
Okay.
is we're talking about electricity and magnetic fields and things like that. But I haven't really given them a preview of what they're doing since the beginning of the year. So it'll be surprises for them.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah. Well, that sounds like a fun project.
Yeah.
Is that one that kids always look forward to? They get all
The
excited?
rockets at the end of the year? Yeah, I mean, it's a surprise that we get to be outside and get to build something and just sort of see the rockets. And they can shoot pretty far. We do them out on the football field. And so we just use an air pump and plastic bottles filled with water. And the rockets themselves can shoot, almost half the field or more than half the field
Wow.
far.
So the air is the propellant?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah, the air is the fuel.
Isn't this like putting Alka-Seltzer in like a 2-liter bottle of and then bouncing
Yeah.
it?
Soda and vinegar?
Yeah. So, Trina and John, I want to ask, what advice would you give to 6th graders who are going to move into doing what you're doing now? What would you tell them they have to look forward to?
I think at the beginning of the year, it was pretty boring because we weren't doing anything. So if you just stick with it and don't easily get distracted, it'll be a lot more fun.
Mm-hmm. Nice advice.
Yeah, like what he said, like if you just trust what you're gonna do, it's gonna be fun at one point, and just listen to your teacher.
Have you ever done this much project stuff before? Like with just,
I don't think we have. 'Cause
Right,
in
in learning.
6th grade, it was pretty much just all questions. Like we were learning, we weren't really doing a lot of hands-on. But now we've built the bridge, and now we're doing the sand work, and then we're gonna do the rocket. So I like it a lot better.
yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So, Dan, lastly, I would say, what would you want to tell parents of students in 5th grade and lower who haven't gone to O'Malley yet, what they have to look forward to here in the Science Center with all these things available to the students now?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really immersive experience. There's lots of things that they get to be hands-on with. A couple of things, I'm pretty sure that they used to build bird boxes, I think, and automatas down here in the science lab. Is very hands-on, really learning about how to construct things and learning how the way things work in a way that you don't really get to do unless you have those hands-on experiences. When we worked with making small machines or simple machines recently, it was really exciting to see them just gravitate towards it and just build these Rube Goldberg machines to make a marble, knock down a book and staple a piece of paper or something like that. It was exciting to see them work on that. And as they go through the years, they get more in-depth and more hands-on stuff. I mean, if you haven't talked to 8th grade, they'll tell you a lot about the kinds of things that they do where they're really using some technical equipment with the aquaponics lab in particular, but there's also growing cultures and things like that. But I'll let them talk about it too.
Yeah, great stuff. Well, we thank you for your time. We hope you guys are okay leaving class to join us for a little bit. So, you guys are awesome. It's cool learning about everything that you guys are learning here every day at O'Malley. So, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dan Thomas, Trayden, and
job.
John, thank you so much for being with us.
Very interesting. Thank
Yeah,
you.
I don't remember doing anything like that in 7th grade here.
You didn't build a rocket? You
No, I
just
was
did that
singing
in your
songs about
backyard.
Ames. And not, yeah.
Yeah, that you were the artsy kid, right?
I don't know what I was, honestly. I'm not
We haven't
bragging.
talked about the Ames 5, have we?
No, well, no, it was just a little singing group that we had going on. Ames Department Store was a big thing around here
Yeah,
back then.
and the
too.
Ames 5 was based on what?
We would make fun of Ames and people shopping at Ames.
Yeah, and there was a song.
And now everyone around here misses Ames incredibly.
I know, right?
I mean, a
Isn't that
department
funny?
store. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
No, we
yeah,
do.
come on in and join us.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hi.
All right, well, now we've graduated 8th grade now, Heather.
Nice. The
Yep.
8th graders.
Yeah, and we are with teacher Allison Ward is joining us. Thank you, Allison.
Hello. Hello.
And two students, and introduce yourselves, please.
I'm James Tejeda.
James, nice to meet you.
And I'm Charlotte Nicastro.
Charlotte, nice to meet you as well.
Nice to meet you too.
Thanks for being with us. So I guess, Allison, right off the bat, tell us about 8th grade. What projects are the students working on right now?
Well, thanks for having us. We in 8th grade have been working on an aquaponics project, which is a pretty involved system. The kids have built their own aquaponics system, meaning they have a fish tank with anywhere from 2 to 5 fish in their fish tank. And we've built a supporting structure around that. And then we have a grow bed on top of that we are growing lettuce. And we have the whole system functioning so that we can cycle the water through and follow the whole nitrogen cycle. And ideally, at the end of this, we're going to have a salad day where we get to cut and harvest our lettuce, put a lot of ranch dressing on it, and have a day where we celebrate our success.
No kidding.
That's great.
Yeah. So what was your reaction the first time? Obviously, were you here in 6th or 7th grade too?
Yeah.
When you finally got into the aquaponic lab to work, were you sort of anticipating that, like looking forward to it, or?
Yeah. I was looking forward to it a pretty long time, and then I thought, it's probably not going to be that fun. And then we actually started doing it. It's really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My brother had told me about when he did it, and it seemed really fun.
Yeah.
So how about, what did you do with the fall term? What was your science project? I'm just asking, like, what did you build up to aquaponics? And does this feel like you've arrived and this is like a really particularly engaging project? Is that right?
Yeah, so we've
Okay.
been in the life science unit. So we were doing some classroom studying on life science and genetics, and then got to get into the lab and actually put a lot of that into action.
Okay, okay. So what, do either one of you have like a wow moment that so far that you've had with aquaponics? Like, oh, I had no idea this happened in the nitrogen cycle, or that fish fertilizer does this. Any sort of moment that you just, or fact that you are impressed by?
I was really surprised by the amount of algae we started to get in all of our tanks and how quickly it became a problem.
Also in lakes, maybe.
Yeah.
And why is that algae a problem?
Well, it can take resources from the plants, and it can also block out some of the, take some of the light from the LEDs that we are using.
So it's interfering. And why is it growing?
Well, it was growing, I don't know if we know how exactly it got there.
Yeah, we're not really sure how it got there, but it was a problem. We had to figure out how to solve it.
Yeah.
Interesting. How did you solve it?
We blocked out the light from the algae by only putting plastic around everything except for the leaves of the plants that we have.
And did that work?
Yeah, it's helping, definitely.
Oh, interesting. Oh. How about you, James?
I was really surprised by that you use bacteria to kind of cycle the nitrogen, because it goes from fish excrement, then to nitrite, then to nitrate, and then the nitrate goes up to the lettuce, and then the lettuce eats that as kind of fuel. And then I was kind of surprised because I didn't know it took all that just for the lettuce to grow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
James already knows way more about biology than I ever figured out. That's-
That is a lot.
That was all. We didn't have hands-on like this too,
Yeah.
which is pretty exciting.
Yeah.
So, so Allison, what's the reception that you're getting from students as the year progresses? Is everyone sort of intrigued or jazzed by science to begin with? Or does it take some getting used to for them?
Yeah, I think if you and I think back to how we learned science, it might not have been our fondest memory of class. It's a lot of vocabulary, it's a lot of textbook, and it doesn't always pique students' interest, which is a shame. But the way that science is historically taught is it's more the history of science. It's Gregor Mendel and his experiments with his pea plants and why he did that, and we're learning about what other scientists have done. What we're able to do at O'Malley is not the history of science, but the students get to do the practice of science. Like Charlotte was saying about the algae. We didn't, as teachers, even expect the algae to be a problem, but now it is. And now we have to figure out how to work with that and how to solve that. So that kind of hands-on experience is how we develop critical thinking skills, and it's how we hone a scientific mind. I think that practice of going into the lab, every day my students come and they say, are we going to the lab today? It's where they want to be, and that piques your interest for careers and for college, because it's not just reading a textbook, it's actually doing science.
Right.
So do you guys go to the Shaws and look at the hydroponic lettuce in a whole different kind of way? Do you see that, whoa, I know how they did that?
Yeah, I actually went there like a week or two ago, and I actually saw that, and I thought to myself, I actually know how that works now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I don't really go to Shaw's very much, but now I think I should probably check it out. It sounds interesting.
Well, no, they have hydroponic lettuce for sale there in a plastic container. There probably is way too much container, but and I'm quite sure they're growing it like you guys are, you know? And here's a follow-up question. Now that you've done it, do you think it's a good way to grow food?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. And why do you think that?
Do you want to take that? Shot?
Yeah. It's pretty self-sustaining. I mean, all we really have to do is if there's like a problem that arises, we should help it, and we have to feed the fish. But other than that, it's like pretty low maintenance. You just have to like check the pH levels and the alkalinity and stuff like that to make sure it's working.
Mm.
And what kind of fish are they?
They're goldfish, I believe.
Okay.
So Allison, do all the students in the 8th grade class go through class work here as well?
Yeah, so all the 8th graders in groups of two or three have their own aquaponics setup. So instead of just one demo at the front of a class or, one setup per class, the students each have their own setup that they're building, and they're responsible for maintaining it. So it's really a personal project and personal experience for them, and they really get to be hands-on as opposed to just looking at one demo in front of the class.
Yeah. So James, were you expecting science to be this cool and fun to learn?
I mean, from last year, I was told by a lot of like my friends from 8th grade.
Yeah.
They were all saying science is gonna be fun. Science is gonna be like it's probably gonna be like one of your favorites. But they never told me anything about aquaponics. But I was expecting it to be pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. You happy? You liking it? Yeah. How about you, Chelsea?
I didn't know much about the aquaponics. My brother told me some stuff, but I was looking forward to science just because I'm pretty, like, I guess, nerdy would be the word. I really love, like, biology and chemistry.
Oh,
and
yeah?
all that. Yes.
So, but you've already done 6th and 7th grade here?
Yeah.
So when you look back across all 3 years, do you see this as a pretty dynamic program? Not that you would have another middle school to compare it to, but what do you think?
I'd say yeah, it's pretty dynamic because I actually have a couple friends from a bunch of different middle schools like around the state.
Yeah.
They all say that most of their work and their schools are just like read the textbook, take the notes, stuff like that. And here we like do a lot of hands-on. I mean, of course they do hands-on there, but like not like how we do it.
Yeah, right, right, cool.
So Allison, how is the rest of the school year gonna play out? Are there any other big projects on the docket?
We do have some big projects. We are hoping to get in here into the 3D printing lab at the end of the year, so excited for that. And we have chemistry coming up as well, and we have our chemistry lab that we'll be able to spend some time in too. So we are not done with our hands-on experiences even after we harvest our lettuce and have our salad day.
Yeah. So, and I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, Allison, you teachers have a lot to keep up with, like in terms of content, right? You have to know a lot.
We do, and we go through a lot in the year, but we find that when kids are invested in it and they are hands-on, they understand it and they remember it way more. So it's kind of a shift as a teacher coming from a different district to think, slowing down and being in the lab sometimes feels like you're making less progress through a textbook, but you're doing more. With every minute that you're in the lab, it just counts for so much more. The educational experience is more valuable, and they remember it. They don't forget it.
Yeah. We haven't asked, are there tests?
Yeah.
I can't let them off the hook that easy.
Right. So does the test come at the end of the aquaponics section or any section, or are there tests throughout?
We go throughout. We have quizzes and tests throughout.
Okay.
But a lot of the aquaponics is based on participation and figuring things out as we go, because science isn't always, you get the exact result that you want. It's about the process. And that's really what it boils down to, is the process.
Yeah.
Now, Shelton, we know you were lucky you had an older brother who had sort of gone through this before. What advice would you give to the 7th grade or any 7th grader friends, whatever, or family who are coming up and are going to be doing this next year?
I would say it's a lot of like routine. So if you're not like excited to do things over and over, then you might have a bit less fun, but it is still really fun. Just keep your head up, remember to feed your fish. And
feed your fish. That's our motto every morning. Go feed your fish.
And how about you, James? What would you tell your friends?
I would tell them to just, make sure that when you do the setup part, to do it right, because if not, it's not going to be fun.
There, you have to go back and do it again.
Yeah, you
and-
do it right the first
right,
time. Yeah. Yeah, great lesson.
And
there.
you can feed your fish too much, isn't that true? Yeah. So.
You have to be really specific.
Yeah, right, exactly.
So, and Alice, lastly, I want to ask you, why do you love what you do so much?
I couldn't do anything else. I've tried other things before I got to teaching middle school, and it's just, I mean, the kids are fun, and teaching kids to love science. I did not like science in middle school and high school. Didn't
wow.
find it until college when I got to do labs. And a lot of the labs that we do here and the equipment we have here, I didn't see until I started college. So these students are seeing tools. We did a micropipette lab. I didn't do micropipettes until I was in college. We're going to do gram staining next week. I didn't do that until college. That's when I found out that I loved science. And so hopefully with this hands-on stuff, we can help students find their love for science earlier and more successfully.
Well said.
Very nice.
Yeah, well, we appreciate your time, all of you. Thanks for
Thank
skipping
you.
class to hang out with us for a bit today. Okay. James, Charlton, and Allison, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Charlotte, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, Charlotte. Sorry, I kept saying
Charlotte.
Charlton.
Yeah, it's okay.
Sorry, Charlotte.
Thank you, Charlotte.
So amazing. So, yeah, so that's 6th, 7th, and 8th grade here.
I know, right? Very cool to see each age group and what they're studying and
Yeah.
what they are interested in and what they've learned.
And you could kind of see the difference between 6th, 7th, and 8th. Yes. How they had applied and what they'd already learned, and they were used to the surroundings here.
Yeah.
That was nice.
It was very nice, very interesting.
All right, joining us now is Chris Perry. Chris is he's an intern from Salem State, and we have to learn a little bit about the Wilson internship too.
So now we have another age bracket.
Yeah,
right, of
absolutely.
student. Hi, Chris.
Hello.
How are you, Chris? Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
We
Thank you for
appreciate
having
it.
me.
So yeah, Chris. So I guess what is your role here as an intern? What exactly are you doing here in the Science Center?
I don't know what the other teachers have told you already, but my role essentially is to fill everything else. Whatever the teachers need help with, I'm there. A lot of it has to deal with, we have a blue water jug, a lot of water we go through because a lot of evaporation.
No, wait, what's that?
So the grow beds have these grow lights on them, and they produce a little bit of heat, and it causes a lot of the water to evaporate.
Oh, so you have to keep the levels up.
Yep. So every day the kids have to fill 2 to 4 liters of water back into their system. So, and the water from Gloucester, they treat it with chlorine and chloramine. So we have to purify ourselves. So that's where I come in. I fill this 30 to 50 gallon jug, and I have to fill it every day because we go through about 30 to 40 gallons, and we got to just stay on top of it because we run through it real quick.
Yeah, and it just sits in for maybe 48 hours, and those chemicals sort of evaporate away.
Yeah, it's a leveled system. So in the upper level of the holding tank, there's 4 really big charcoal filters. Yep, and the water pressure from the weight of the water actually pushes the water through those filters, and that's how the water gets filtered. And yeah, it takes, depending on the pressure and the amount of water, it can take like 1 to 2 days. Yeah.
So you're the water guy. That's an important
Water
job.
guy,
Yeah.
fish guy. A lot of the fish I have to get for the kids to put in their tanks.
Where do you get them?
We get them from PetSmart or Petco is where we've been going.
Yeah.
So Chris, explain your path to here. How did the internship work? Are you from the area?
No, I'm from Amesbury, so a little bit of a trek away, but I'm a senior at Salem State University, and I took aquaculture last spring in my spring semester, and I really, really enjoyed it. And I told my advisor that I really enjoyed it because I'm getting ready to graduate, and just kind of give her ideas to maybe help me where to go next. And this is what she got. She came back one day, she just emailed me randomly and said, hey, there's this opening at O'Malley Middle School in Gloucester. They're doing aquaculture. You told me you loved it. And she sent me the info. And I emailed them right away, and that's how it was all facilitated.
How you liking it?
Loving it.
Yeah.
Every day, something new. It's definitely never a dull moment here, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
But it's good.
So you're a science major?
I am, yep. I'm majoring in biology, and I'm going for a minor in chemistry. So.
All right.
What do you like being around students of this age group?
I love how you never know what you're going to get yourself into. So usually in the morning, they're a little quieter, but by the afternoon, you really got to be on your A game because they're bouncing off the walls.
Oh,
but
really?
yeah, it keeps you on your toes. It's not really physically demanding, but mentally, by the end of the day, I'm drained. And
That's amazing.
but it's great. Yeah, they really just give me energy, and they are kind of the motivation for me to just keep working at the level that I'm working, because they're the next ones in line, and want to make sure the earth is going to be in good hands. So
Yeah, well said. Do you see little reflections of yourself in some of the students here? Who
Totally.
Maybe, yeah.
Totally, yeah. Especially like some of them, I don't know, just like playing with the glassware or playing like with the triple beam balances. I always like look at them. I'm like, wow, you can't just sit still. But then I reflect. I'm like, oh, that was totally me. Now I get it.
Yeah.
Totally get it. It's weird to see both ends of the spectrum, being freshly like a fresh student, but also now transitioning into the teacher role. So I get to kind of see like both sides of it, and it's definitely interesting.
Yeah, even just sitting here, seeing the 6th graders to the 7th graders to the 8th graders, you can just see the difference in them, and not only what they're learning, but how they can articulate what they've learned too. So,
Exactly.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So what would you want? I mean, what's next for you? Where do you want your career to go?
That's what I ask myself every day. So.
How about teaching? Are you ready for that?
I might be. So this really definitely opened my eyes to the whole teaching aspect, because before this, I definitely did not consider teaching whatsoever. But now I really have a big decision to make, because I really do love it here. And like there's just, like it's just great every day. I don't know. But I just look out for emails through my teachers and through my advisor. They really help me. My parents are really supportive too. I'm going to be actually looking at other applications this weekend, but I don't know any specifics. But right now, I love that I'm here, and I love aquaculture. So I definitely think I'm going to do a little bit more research and see what aquaculture is going on, like not just in Gloucester, but the surrounding area as well, because I definitely think it's something I could see myself pursuing.
So what have you learned about Gloucester coming to this middle school and interacting with these kids and these teachers? What do you think about this community?
I think it's great. I think you get a little bit of everything here, like all aspects of life, and it's great to see just every side of it rather than kind of just one demographic. It just really opens your eyes, and you get to see the whole world rather than just kind of just one side of it.
Do you look at your own town, Amesbury, differently, having spent, well, you've been in Salem a lot too, so yeah. So, I don't know, compare and contrast.
Definitely a little bit. Like it's in Amesbury, it's a lot more quiet, and I'm a little bit more, keep to yourself. Like everybody likes a little bit of their privacy, but I kind of feel like here, like everybody knows each other, especially in Salem. Everybody knows each other. Everybody, says hi. It's just like kind of like a big family, essentially, and especially here. And I definitely feel like I've been welcomed with open arms here, very much so. So
nice.
Have you noticed some of the students learning progress while you've been here? Like, oh, that, like she or he was kind of quiet at first and not really hands-on, and now I can see the growth in that student?
Totally, 100%. Even today, the kids are constantly doing water chemistry to make sure that the fish are in healthy living conditions. And just from day one to now, like I hardly even have to help them now. Like day one, I was step by step, you do this to this, no, this is this. Now, all right, we're gonna be doing this, and here you go. And then they're just off and they do it. They maybe 1 or 2 questions, but they really have a handle on it. And that's another thing, like with the whole, keeps me motivated to see that they're absorbing the information and learning it and retaining it, and actually like understand, not just doing it just to do it, but understanding like why we're doing it. It's really rewarding.
Yeah. How about the staff and the teachers? How have they been working with them?
Oh, they've been probably honestly better than me, because they have the more experience. That's kind of the thing I've been grappling with. I totally was a lot more quiet when I first started here. I definitely have to admit I am coming out of my shell myself now. And it's been great because, now the kids aren't afraid to ask me anything, and I'm not afraid to go up to them and ask them anything. But I've been kind of trying to shadow them a little bit and take notes and little pointers on what they do, because they are great with handling the whole bunch. I don't know how they do it.
Yeah, right. You have to keep your energy up every day, and it's
Every
a different
day.
lesson, and reinforcing those lessons.
Yep.
It's a
And
lot.
it's amazing how tired you get, right?
Yeah, like I
It's
said,
really-
like mentally, it's like, wow, I'm exhausted. We're just ready to just hit the snooze button up here at the end of the day.
Aw.
Are there any other projects you know that are upcoming that are particularly exciting to you, or you can't wait to see the kids sort of dive into?
Yeah, they're going to be doing gene sequencing pretty soon here. So with some of the fish that haven't made it, we've been saving them and freezing them, and we're going to have this company come in, and they're going to do work with the kids to get a little bit of a sample of the fish, and then with that sample, I don't know exactly how, but they're going to sequence the genes in the DNA of the actual fish.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
I'm excited.
amazing.
I actually don't really know much about it myself, so I'm really excited to get in there and learn with the kids.
Yeah, this is heavy duty stuff because I know at like the Gloucester Biotechnology Academy
Yeah.
they do like fish fraud forensics. Like they'll sample fish from restaurants in Boston that say it's haddock or cod, and then they study to make sure that it's
Yeah.
actually haddock or cod. Those are students doing that.
Yeah, that's
awesome.
It's
right.
pretty amazing. So, Chris, thank you for your time. But we want to say, what would you tell to other folks maybe in your situation, looking for an internship, or like you weren't expecting to be this wowed by your experience here at O'Malley? So, what advice would you give to someone else who's trying to feel their way through the same subject as yours?
I would say don't hesitate. If you think you want to do something, just do it, because you never know how it's going to turn out. Like for me, I was kind of on the fence about this, but luckily my parents are really supportive and they pushed me to get something on my resume, and it's really turned out to be super wonderful. Because now I'm going to have to make a tough choice when this internship ends, having to leave because I love it. But.
Well, we appreciate your time and your enthusiasm. It's always cool to see teachers and interns working together to bring out the best in the students here in the community.
And when you apply for jobs, you can take this little interview and put it on your resume.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, you got a stamp of endorsement from me and Heather.
Exactly.
So, Chris, thank you so much, man. Good luck to you
Thank
moving
you.
forward. Okay,
Thank
take
you.
care.
Yeah, have a good day, guys.
You too.
You too.
That's Chris Perry. He's from Salem State
Yeah.
and working down here in the Science Center and loving every minute of it. So how great was that?
It's so interesting to have like a college age student
Yeah.
after the middle schoolers.
Yeah.
So who's next, Kory?
Heather, you're going to love this because, of course, you're a journalist at heart. I believe.
Yeah.
You're a great writer.
Oh, thank
and
you.
now we're going to learn a little bit about the Cherry Street Journal. Yeah, come on in and join us.
Yeah. We have writers at O'Malley
We
Middle
do.
School also.
We're talking with the staff of the Cherry
Come
Street
sit
Journal,
down.
folks.
Yes.
How are you?
Good.
You get settled in. Thanks for joining us today.
So your names?
My name is Jude Worthley.
Jude
My name is Alina Brown.
and Alina. Great. Nice to meet you guys. Thank you for joining us.
Thank
Glad
you.
to be here.
So we've been talking about science all morning, and you are the writer, or are you the editors of the Cherry Street Journal?
We help write some stories.
Yeah, we're both
Let's get you a
we're
little
both-
closer to the mic. That's all we need.
we're both the senior staff reporters, a part of the Cherry Street Journal.
Okay, so tell us about the Cherry Street Journal.
Well, the Cherry Street Journal is the school journal. It is named the Cherry Street after the Wall Street Journal, but because O'Malley School is on Cherry Street, they call it the Cherry Street Journal.
Mm-hmm.
And you can access it through the Gloucester Public Schools website, or the O'Malley School website.
Yeah.
Well,
It was started by Miss Danaher. She used to be the 7th grade ELA teacher that she retired this year. But it was started by her and mainly run by her until this year when Miss Francor and Miss Natola became like the main teachers, helpers, a part of it.
So when you came into O'Malley in the 6th grade, did you start working for the journal?
I didn't start until 7th grade.
Okay.
But when I was in 7th grade, Miss Danaher was still doing it. But like Alina said, recently Miss Natola and Miss Francor are now doing it.
Okay.
I started in the first term of 6th grade, so I've been doing it. We released 3 publications in my 6th grade year and 4 in my 7th grade year, so 7. This is my 9th edition part of the Cherry Street Journal that I've been in this term.
That's great,
Oh, nice.
Alina.
And it's just online?
Right now it's just online.
It used to
believe they
be
used to be on
Like a
print. It
physical,
was like
yeah.
25 cents per copy.
Yeah.
But then because of the pandemic, it had to be switched over to slideshows, and it was slideshows from the beginning of my 7th grade to 6th grade to 7th grade. But
Mhm.
then this year, we moved it over into a website format.
Interesting. So what sorts of articles are you writing? Like what are the projects you're working on for the journal? What can we find in there?
Well, there's a lot of other people who do it,
Mhm.
so there's other articles besides this, but I really like geopolitics actually. So
Ooh.
I've been writing a bit about the war in Ukraine and how that has been going on, and how it's been affecting the world in the year it's been going on for.
Interesting. Yeah, we should all be reading that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Elena?
In 6th grade, I mostly started off, I did like music articles and like collaborations with like some of the other reporters about things. But mostly now I do sports interviews. Like I did this term, it hasn't come out yet, but I interviewed 3 of the boys of O'Malley hockey, and Jude and me worked on in the fall we did an interview with 2 of the O'Malley field hockey girls.
Mm-hmm.
So I've mostly been doing just that, along with like what's happening in the world, like pop culturally, and I still work a bit on the music.
Nice. Are you taking the photographs too? Are you guys taking?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you can go.
Okay. Last year in 7th grade, I started doing photography, and I haven't done too much of it. I also am a videographer for some of the interviews that we've done. Nothing like this, but yeah, I did some
Are
photography.
you using your phone, Jude, or what are you using for the
I
video?
actually used an old camera that I used
Oh, yeah,
when I went
nice.
on vacation. It was like one of those that you can just fit in your pocket and take out when you want to take a picture. That's the one that I used, but I really like photography and I do it all the time.
Yeah.
And I don't know who else did we do it with. We did it with Jocelyn Madalena, another person who did the Cherry Street Journal last year.
Yeah.
She also did photography.
Last year mostly I didn't do that much in it because I had softball when like Jocelyn and Jude did photography, but I took pictures of O'Malley field hockey this fall with just my like iPhone 13. But then I've been borrowing Miss Francor's camera, and I've been taking like pictures like in school. Sometimes like when kids want me to take their picture, as well as with I took it like twice for boys hockey, boys O'Malley hockey, and then once for girls varsity and twice for boys varsity. Like I went to the game against that they just had where they won 6-1.
Yeah.
And I've been talking to the photography teacher at the high school, Miss Harney, about it. So hopefully I can take photography next year. And I have like an Instagram where I post most of my photography. It's like Alina Marie Photos, where I post all the photos, and like some pretty big photographers follow me, like Bernie and Yahar, where they have like a bunch of followers and they're like mentoring me.
Yeah.
Nice.
Sometimes too. Oh, and Don Enos.
Yeah, I know
also
Don.
too.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah. So
That's great.
like we both are like we like to do photography on the side of the Cherry Street Journal. And a few Jacoby, who was a part of the Cherry Street Journal last term, he took photography. He like took of O'Malley girls hockey with like his own like little camera he has.
Gotcha.
So like that's one of the main parts of the Cherry Street Journal, like one of the sub pages.
Yeah, nice. So Jude, you were saying you like geopolitical stuff, right? So what are you reading, newspapers or magazines or things online? What things are you following?
Well, actually, a lot of times I go onto YouTube, and there's a couple of like news, I guess news channels
Yeah.
that are kind of like this one actually, who talk a lot about stuff where it's like geopolitics. I don't usually read the newspaper. I do every once in a while, like not that often.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes my family would show me an article if there's one or two in the newspaper if they
Yeah.
see one. But It's actually usually just online. Like I watch a ton of YouTube videos about it, and that's kind of how I, I guess, study for this.
Yeah, shape your own style. So you see anything that's cool that's like, hey, this would be really cool for the journal?
Well, I mean, mostly in general, it's just I've been doing Ukraine and updates about it. When you say like just anything cool, just anything?
Well, there's just things like, oh, I like the way this writer writes, or I like the way they told that story, or I like the way they got that picture. Is that?
Sometimes not really. I kind of like to do things just like the way I do it,
Yeah.
I guess. But during one of the classes here at O'Malley is library media, and in 8th grade you get to build a website. So I did it kind of about that stuff.
Yeah.
So I wonder about, so you started in the 6th grade with the Cherry Street Journal, and you started last year. Last year. So what do you guys have to say about the process of suddenly you're the ones writing the story? You've been in school for so many years at this point, and you've been reading other people's things and having to learn, but suddenly you have to teach somebody something through your own words. It's different, right?
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. So do you want to each say something about what that process has felt like?
I think it's been more of I sometimes take what I have seen, and I said, I listen and I write a little bit about it the way they did, but then I kind of try and make it into the way I would want to do it.
Do you learn more, you think, when you do that?
Sometimes I pay more attention when I have to write about it. If I'm not writing about something, I might not pay as much attention about it. So, I mean, a little bit, maybe not too much, but a little bit, definitely.
How about you, Lee?
I most of the articles I write are like, I'm inspired by something for each article I write, and like the music articles, most of them I like the musical artist, and or one of my friends or someone in my class like it. So I usually try to cater towards music fans and the music articles, and sports fans for the sports articles and interviews. So it's kind of I just always want to cater towards the viewers. So yeah.
But does it make you engage a little bit differently when you're going to write about it, as opposed to just, oh, I like this music?
Kind of. I always take a different approach. My opinion, I think my articles now are way better in 6th grade, and I've evolved. But I feel like the articles, in turn, I go through many drafts as I'm writing it, because I write one and I'm like, that's so bad, I cannot post that, and I rewrite it.
Yeah.
But it's I take parts of what I like about things, what other people like about it, and try to make it the best, what's it called, outside sources, get all the sides of the story. And that's one of the important things about journalism.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So do you handwrite or do you type?
We type.
You do?
Mostly.
Yeah.
If I get an idea in the middle of the night, I obviously am not gonna open my computer, but I have a little notebook, write down the idea, and go back to sleep, and then we type it up.
That's good. You carry around a little notebook with you. You never know when a great idea pops in.
These are real writers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's
So
great.
lastly, I want to ask, what's it feel like when you see your name attached to your article when the journal comes out?
Would you like to go first?
You can go.
Okay. Well, I always feel kind of a little proud of myself, especially when I know that other people are reading it. I always encourage my friends to read it. But it's just kind of maybe even inspiring just to say, I can do that again and make another article. And I can make it better.
Good.
I agree with what Jude said. In my first term, when the first journal was released, I think the first one I wrote about the Electoral College.
Wow.
And the different kinds of votes. And when that first came out, I was really proud of it, because all my teachers were posting it in Boathouse about it, so I was really proud of that. And each time it comes out, and on the announcements when they're oh, the Cherry Street Journal was released, and then it names the articles and the reporters, and it says my names, I just feel a sense of pride, I did that. I'm the one of the senior reporters of the journal. and like I'm like influencing all the other members, and they're influencing me too. So like it's like the Cherry Street Journal is a family.
That's great. That's really wonderful.
Heather, don't
Yeah.
you're don't.
I'm not gonna
Just-
cry. I cry easily.
Well, congratulations to you both. I mean, that's awesome. Keep up the good work. And are you going to keep writing going forward now? Yep.
Yeah, I'm gonna in high school. When I get to join the Gillen editor, I'm probably gonna do that.
Oh, yeah.
But you can't do it till sophomore year, so I'm probably me and Miss Francoeur, Miss Tola, are trying to figure out if like I can be a helper to the kids next year on it, because
that's
like
a
I
great
just
idea.
love the Cherry Street Journal.
That's
It's
great.
like been with me all throughout my O'Malley career, so it's just like a part of me now.
Yeah.
That's so great.
Love it.
Really.
And so now if people want to read the Cherry Street Journal, they can go through O'Malley's website.
Yeah, when you
And-
scroll down, it's like says Cherry Street Journal, and it says Cherry Street Journal webpage, and you click on that, and it sends you, and it has all the articles new and all the ones from the past, from the last 2 years of it being online.
That's great.
Great.
Awesome.
So we can go back and catch up.
We can,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, we have a weekend work now
Yeah,
for us.
exactly.
So Jude Worthley and Linda Brown, thank you so much for spending time with us. Congratulations on all your work, and we look forward to reading more articles from you in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you. Very glad to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you
Same,
so
I
much.
agree.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There you go, folks. So look up the Cherry Street Journal right now at O'Malley's website. We'll get that link in there for you too. So thanks for being with us.
Thank you
Thank
so much.
you.
We're going to have your
It's been a
principal back
pleasure.
now.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Pretty impressive, huh, Heather?
So impressive. So
Yeah.
impressive. Right.
I thought the journalist might get to you.
They did.
Right.
They did, yeah. Well, I actually spied the Cherry Street Journal on the website, and I was like, I want to talk to those people.
Yeah.
So
Very great. Okay.
get far away.
Situated
Yeah,
here.
Yeah.
that's fine. Principal Lynn Beatty is back with us to wrap things up today. What'd you think, Lynn?
Well, I thought it was fantastic,
Yeah.
but I wasn't surprised.
right.
But everyone does a great job. The kids are terrific. And,
Yeah.
They really were. They were really
Yeah.
impressive.
Good.
Yeah.
And the
teachers, too.
enthusiasm of the staff too. I mean, amazing.
Mhm.
Good.
So yeah, we're so happy.
So you
to,
got a little taste of what O'Malley's like.
We really did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
So let we be remiss not to, if to ask, like you announced your retirement
I did.
in the just in the recent past here,
Right.
and I'm sure that was a difficult decision for you to make because obviously you love the school and,
Yep.
and everything there. So we wish you well, and we want to know what you're going to miss the most.
There's so many things. It was a really hard decision. I think the interactions with the kids, that's really always been my favorite part. I don't, in my role, there are days when I don't get a lot of those, but on the days I do, it's always really special. So that will be the hard part. It's a wonderful, wonderful place, and I've really enjoyed being here. And I've still got ways to go, not till the end of December, so I'm trying not to think about it
okay.
yet.
Oh,
So
gotcha.
next year. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Very
I sort of matched it for hiring season for the
Oh, that's good.
district. So
I see.
Right.
yeah,
Well, maybe we can get back here in the fall.
that would be great.
I
Yeah,
know.
We'll do
we would
another
love
round.
to do that
Yeah.
again.
We have more
Excellent.
to ask. We have more questions.
Excellent.
Yeah.
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 I'm sure you've generated a whole new list after today. So.
We did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Well, thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate coming and letting us show off some of the things that we do.
Oh,
You
we
know,
loved it.
people who don't have kids right here in the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade don't know.
Right,
Right? So
right.
it's so great to be inside the school and really meeting kids and teachers and seeing what they're doing. So thank
And
you so
middle
much.
school is not necessarily a happy memory in many people's lives because it is that in-between stage. So it's nice to be able to help people see that we have some really great things going on and the kids are really thriving.
Yeah,
So.
absolutely. We saw that today.
Good.
We did. Yeah, thank you so much. And we
Sure.
really appreciate it. So.
Very welcome.
And so concludes this episode of K-Pan Today. We want to thank everyone here at O'Malley Middle School for making this possible for us. Principal Lynn Vitti, Dave Brown, Maggie Rose of the Gloucester Education Foundation, Amy Donnelly was with us, Mariah Shannon, Dan Thomases, Allison Ward, all the students. I'm going to screw up their names. But
I know.
we just had
They were great.
Gina Lena, Rachel's daughter. Yeah, I'll screw it up. It's Eva.
Eva.
Yeah.
And
Who else? There was
Charlotte,
Trayton.
James.
Trayton was with us. James was with us. John Novello. I think we could almost get them all in there, but we'll have them all in there on the video for you later on too. We got to thank Chris Perry from Salem State. How enthusiastic was he? That was awesome as well. And I think that's about it, right? We have to thank our crew, of course, on camera. Mike Dennis, also Alec Palmer, our floor manager, Alana Horn, Production manager Tyler Horinson.
Horinson.
Yep. Technical director Matt McMakin. Digital director we do not have right now. Anyone want to apply for the digital director position? Now we actually are introducing someone for our next show. Our operations coordinator is Emily Games, and our executive director is Eric Archer. We don't know where we're going to be next. We have a few requests out there, so we'll see where April takes us. But we'll be back here, I guarantee you, this fall.
Yes, that'd be great.
So there is that. All right. So for Heather, I'm Kory. We'll see you next time. Thanks to everyone here at O'Malley School. And we'll see you on the next tape and today.